people.
No.
Spain.
Come on.
Hello and welcome to Time Tunnel TV. We are your hosts, Phoebe Potter
And Keely Mags.
and we have got a very special show for you today. We have performances from an amazing artist, Charlie Meakin.
We also have an incredible guest from the early 1900s, but you'll have to wait and see to see who that is. Now let me introduce the wonderful Charlie Meakin.
I knew you were gonna come to me, but here you are. But you better choose carefully, 'cause I am capable of anything and everything. Make me your Aphrodite, make me your one and only. Don't make me your enemy, your enemy, your enemy. So you wanna play with magic? Boy, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready for a perfect storm, perfect storm? 'Cause once you're mine, there's no going back. Mark my words, this love will make you levitate like a bird, unlike a bird without a cage, but down to earth. If you choose to walk away, don't walk away. It's in the palm of your hand now, baby. It's a yes or a no, no, maybe. But just be sure before you give it all to me, all to me. Give it all to me. So you wanna play with magic? Boy, you should know what you're falling for. Baby, do you dare to do this? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark horse. Are you ready for a perfect storm, perfect storm? 'Cause once you're mine, once you're mine. Going back.
And now, for our very special guest. He has the brains, the smile, the mustache. It's the 26th President, Theodore Roosevelt!
Hello, Theodore Roosevelt. It's wonderful
Hello.
to have you here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, since your life has been very eventful, we need to get a bit of an order. Let's start at the very beginning. What were you like as a child?
Well, curious. I was a very curious child. From the age of 7, I discovered I had an interest in the natural history, the world of natural history. And one day, I saw a dead seal at a local market. I obtained the head, and myself and my 2 cousins, we decided to start our own natural history museum, the Roosevelt Natural History Museum.
Oh, wow.
And we would collect animals that we'd killed or found when we taught ourselves a rudimentary knowledge of taxidermy. And we would display these animals and study them and learn from them. So it was a unique childhood. But I was also a very sickly child, actually, if truth be told. I suffered from many ailments. I had headaches, stomach aches, but my biggest failing was asthma. I suffered from quite atrocious asthma, sometimes having attacks that would last for weeks on end.
Oh, wow. And how did you, like, overcome, like, obviously a very big obstacle in your life?
Well, my parents used remedies from the time, such as smoking on cigars to strengthen the lungs. Obviously today I'm sure that would be frowned on quite severely. But at the time that's what we thought would help. But it was my father that decided that physical exercise is what I needed, because my lungs were just so weak I couldn't even blow out a candle at my bedstand. So with his help, he said to me one day, "Theodore, you have the mind, but not the body. And for the mind to go as far as it should, you must have the body." So from that moment on, I worked as hard as I could to strengthen the body. My father and I, we built a gym in the house, and I would work boxing, lifting weights. But because my interest in natural history, I also enjoyed hiking and would go for very long hikes. But it was all down to my father, really.
Wow, so after that you graduated at Harvard. So unfortunately during this time you did have a hard time. What happened?
Yes, well, firstly, I became estranged from my childhood sweetheart, Edith. But the most tragic of events, my father died. It was a devastating time for me because we were so close. You know, this was a man that would often carry me around the house when I was younger and help me breathe. And to lose such a figure such as him, it was a traumatic time for me. He was probably one of the greatest men I've ever known.
He sounds lovely. So how did you cope, obviously, with the loss of your father?
I threw myself into what he taught me how to do and exercise. I went to Long Island Sound and I would hunt, box, wrestle. One day I went for a 25-mile row on the sea. But it was a very dark time for me. I think I didn't even realize at the time just how affected I was. One time I nearly rode my horse to death. And I actually shot a neighbor's dog just for snapping at me. I was in a very dark place and perhaps not acting as I should.
How did you go on from there then, after that? How did you redeem yourself?
Well, obviously I'd graduated from Harvard, and where I'd found my passion for politics and history. And I was elected to the New York Assembly. And I actually became the youngest ever speaker of the Assembly, which was quite a feat at the time, I'm sure you can imagine. But I also found the love of my life, Alice Lee, and we married. And that turned, tragedy into a happy period once again.
It's so good that you found happiness, like, after so much tragedy in your life.
So what did you do after that then?
Well, unfortunately, as God often does, he puts obstacles in your way. And not long after the birth of our daughter, Alice, which should have been a truly joyous occasion, a double tragedy struck. My mother died 2 days after my birth of my daughter Alice, and then my wife Alice died within hours. All were under the same house. A real devastating time, I can assure you appreciate.
We're so sorry to hear that.
So after, you know, you've suffered so much tragedy in your life, how did you sort of get back into what you wanted to do with your life? You know, where did you go as for work?
Well, I'm sure you can imagine, I threw myself into my work like I did after my father's death. But it wasn't enough. After my second term in the Assembly, I resigned, and I could no longer face being a father. At that time, I had suffered too much loss, and I wasn't prepared for the life and responsibility. There were too many memories in New York, in that house, too many bad memories, unfortunately. So I gave my daughter to my sister to look after, and I went to the Dakota Badlands to become a cowboy.
Oh, wow.
Where I would look after cattle. I also actually became a frontier sheriff during my time there.
So did all of that fighting corruption get a bit boring for you?
Well, it's a different world out there. I'm sure you can imagine, from the civilization of New York to the Badlands of Dakota County, and I realized that I couldn't stay away from home. I couldn't run away from the problems. You can never run away from your problems. You must face your problems. So I chose to return home. I think God sent me a message. He sent one of the harshest winters of the time, which destroyed my cattle. But I'd also found Alice. I did. My wife, Edith, sorry, I reconnected with Edith. No, Alice, my poor wife, yes. No, Edith, my childhood love. So I decided to return home to New York, where the Republican Party asked me to run as mayor.
Yeah.
But I was against it at the time. I didn't see how I could win, and in fact I did. I lost quite badly.
Yeah, this obviously marked a start of a very important period of your life. We're going to look at a documentary about this.
Spain were one of the first big empires in the New World, taking over many different countries, including Cuba. The Cuban people became dissatisfied with the corrupt and inefficient Spanish administration, lack of political representation, and high taxes, triggering the first of 3 Cuban independence wars in October 1868, named the 10 Years' War. After 200,000 lives were lost, the rebels agreed to armistice in February 1878. A second uprising, named the Little War, began in August 1879, but was quelled by superior Spanish forces in autumn 1880. This escalated to become the American-Spanish War, which started 21st of April and ended 13th of August in the year 1898. At the time, Theodore Roosevelt was a relatively young man, and after he'd campaigned tirelessly for William McKinley to become president, he was propelled to the job of Assistant Secretary of the Navy. Teddy, unlike isolationists who believed America shouldn't get involved in foreign wars, thought it was America's duty to help the Cubans. He wanted America to become a world power, and he saw the American-Spanish War as an opportunity to do that. Similarly, the American people and newspapers were gaining a greater appetite for war, putting pressure on the McKinley administration who were trying to prevent conflict. With America getting closer and closer to war, an American warship named the Maine was sent to Havana Harbor to protect US interests during the Cuban War of Independence. This was when disaster struck. The Maine exploded on February 15, 1898, killing 254 Americans, and, although the reasons behind the explosion are still not known, Spain was blamed. The McKinley administration did not want to use this as a pretext for war, while the American people, newspapers, and Teddy did. So, when Secretary Long, his boss, went on a week-long vacation and left Theodore in charge, Teddy readied America for war. By the time President McKinley declared war, under pressure from Congress, newspapers and the American people, America was ready, and Teddy quit his job and went to war.
He's not the kind of politician that goes and declares a war and lets other people go and fight. He himself was super important. He was still a young man. He loved adventure, and at the time, people weren't as squeamish about the idea of going to war. They didn't have the same level of conscience that we do today after things like the Vietnam War and all the other terrible wars, World War II, the horrible wars that we've had since then. So he had no problem with the idea of him hopping onto a horse and flying into battle. As well as that, his dad, during the Civil War, didn't fight. He basically paid off the American army and let someone else go in his place. It left a scar on his dad that he didn't actually stand up and fight when his country wanted him, and that's a burden that Teddy carried through his life. He wasn't willing to let that happen to himself as well. So he quit his job as the Assistant Naval Secretary, joined the army, and said, I'm organising my own unit of cavalry troops, and I'm going to call up all the nutjobs of the world to come and join me.
This group were called the Rough Riders.
There was loads of cowboys came down from his Dakota days, loads of other rich, crazy people from New York, a couple of random British explorers who felt like joining a war just for the crack. I think the official amateur tennis champion joined. There were a couple of professional swimmers. All sorts of random lads got onto the horses, came down and joined Teddy.
Theodore decided he wouldn't be the leader of the group.
So he didn't have any practical military experience, and he thought that it would have been a bit too far for him to declare himself the general as well as setting up this unit. So he got in this old American Army general to become the leader. But the dude was so old and senile that sometimes he forgot that he wasn't actually still fighting the Civil War, and he used to fight the Civil War on the Confederate side. So sometimes when they were going into battle, he would say, let's go get those damn Yankees, even though the guy sitting on the horse beside him was the definition of what a Yankee could be. It was the general in charge, Teddy in second, and then a whole load of crazy dudes on horses right behind them.
After assembling his unit, Teddy and his Rough Riders began their journey to war.
The war happened pretty quickly, and Teddy realised that with the amount of forces that America were going to send down, it was going to be a pretty quick war, and he really wanted his chance to get into the fight. So he went down to Florida where they were organising the army. He brought his Rough Riders, and when he got down there, he was told by the army he didn't really like this crazy mustached dude who organised his own force to go and fight, and also pretty much brought everyone else into the war. So they told him he had to go in the second wave. Whenever the boats went over, dropped off the first wave of soldiers, he would get the lift on the second wave. He said, no way, me and my dudes are going right now. So he basically commandeered a boat, but there wasn't enough room for the horses, so they had to leave their cavalry part of their cavalry unit behind, and all his dudes just got onto the boat and headed on over. They pretty much got straight into the fighting. The general that they had taken got injured first, so Teddy had to assume command.
One of Teddy's most famous escapades was during the Battle of San Juan Hill. While getting shot at, Teddy was the first to reach the top of the hill and kill one of the enemy shooters, allowing his men to follow.
At one point they were pinned down, and Teddy was on his horse trying to rally his troops, and he told the private who was cowering behind, is like, damn it, young man, if you can't stand up and fight when I'm on my horse, what kind of a man are you? So the young guy was like, yeah, God, he's right, I look like an idiot. He stood up and he got shot in the head immediately.
Despite the fact the Rough Riders suffered a 37% casualty rate, the highest of any American regiment, cavalry or infantry, his men adored him.
By the time he came back, he was super famous. Everyone heard of this psychopathic cowboy, rich boy who joined the war just for the fun of it, and he was known as the Colonel because that was his rank in the army. He had military parades, everyone welcomed him like a war-conquering hero, which technically he was, and he immediately was chosen to run for the governorship of New York State. So definitely, without the Cuban independence war that America got involved in, we probably wouldn't have had the Teddy Roosevelt and his impact on the world that we had.
Teddy's role in the war not only helped America become one of the most powerful countries in the world, but it acted as a stepping stone in his journey to becoming one of the most interesting presidents in history.
Right, so after your loss as mayor of New York, how did your career go?
I was appointed to the assembly as a civil servant, and this was my first chance to really do what I felt needed to be done and start tackling corruption within the American political system. But I was very heavily criticized by my peers, and even the president of the time criticized me for trying to fight corruption. So I moved back to New York, where I was appointed as commissioner for the New York State Police. And again, I made it my mission to fight the corruption in the police force. Lieutenants, captains, veterans, they were all subject to review. No one who was above the law, as it were. Everybody was expected to be the same. And I would often go out on police patrols to make sure that police officers were doing their patrols. It was very important to me that the system became the symbol that America wanted it to be.
So did fighting all of that corruption get a bit boring for you?
Well, as police commissioner, yes, within a year, I gave up being police commissioner, and instead turned my focus to the presidential election.
Everyone stop. My TriCaster's crashed.
Oh God.
I can't.
Oh, not good. Damn it!
It's alright, don't worry about it.
Are we gonna have to redo that then?
Good morning and welcome to Time on TV. Today we have a special guest on our show as Heath Ledger is going to be joining us later. We also have 2 performances for you by The Escapade, a never-before-seen documentary, and all the top news headlines from 2008. To kick off our show, I would like to introduce our first performance from The Escapade.
This is Creep. When you ever fall, trying to look you in the eye, you're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You flow like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special. You're so very special, but I'm a creep. I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't care if it hurts. I wanna have control. I want a perfect body. I want a perfect soul. I want you to notice when I'm not around. I wish I was special. You're so very special, but I'm a creep. I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. Oh, oh, she's running out again. She's running out. Run, 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 run. whatever you want. You're just like an angel. You still makes me cry. But I'm a creep. I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here.
Wow, thank you for that amazing performance, guys. I'm now going to hand you over to the lovely news presenter, Keely, who's going to be telling you the main news headlines from 2008.
Hello and welcome to Time Tunnel News. Today we are going to be reporting all of the key events within the year 2008. Today's headlines: Barack Obama has officially been elected the first black president of the United States of America. Heath Ledger was found dead in his apartment after he overdosed on prescription drugs. Joseph Fritzl has admitted to imprisoning his daughter for 24 years and fathering her 7 children. Gary Glitter was ordered to sign the sex offenders list after being jailed for attempted rape and 4 counts of indecent assault. The Sharon Matthews case has officially finally closed after her mother, Karen Matthews, and Michael Donovan have been sentenced to prison for 8 years. To kick off the year, the Democratic Senator Barack Obama has officially been elected the first black president of the United States. He was carried to victory by the voter turnout, which has said to be given a wider margin between himself and his Republican opponent, John McCain, than any other president in the past 2 decades. Heath Ledger was found dead in his Manhattan apartment. He died of an accidental drug overdose on prescription drugs. We're going to go to an on-the-street report of the actor's death with our reporter, Abby.
I'm currently stood outside a block of Manhattan apartments on Bourne Street where Heath Ledger has been found dead in his bed. It is said that he had an accidental overdose on prescription drugs. He was 28 years old, Heath Ledger, a talented young man who played some of our favourite roles such as the Joker in Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, Ellis Del Mar in Brokeback Mountain, and Patrick Verona in 10 Things I Hate About You. The beloved actor was on prescription drugs for anxiety and sleeping problems and took a mixture of the drugs which ultimately led to his death. Having been rumoured to be on Class A drugs such as cocaine and heroin, police have failed to find any illegal substances within the Manhattan apartment. Ledger was said to have depression and was a daily drinker. This came after the split of his partner, Michelle Williams, as he found it hard to cope without her. Sources say that he wanted his family back and he couldn't cope without them. His father, Kim Ledger, was quoted saying that Heath's death was ultimately his fault. It was no one else's. He reached for them. He put them in his system. You can't blame anyone else in that situation. It's hard to accept because I loved him so much and was so proud of him. It's been told that Ledger's sister was on the phone to him the previous night before his death, telling him not to mix the drugs. He did so anyways, claiming he knew what he was doing. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you for that, Abby. We send our condolences to Heath's family. Our next story is about a 73-year-old Austrian man who confessed to imprisoning his daughter in a cellar for 24 years and fathering her 7 children. Joseph Fritzl also admitted to burning the body of a baby that died at the house in Amstetten, Lower Austria. The convicted paedophile Gary Glitter was ordered to sign the sex offenders register, having sexually abused 3 young girls between 1975 and 1980. He was sentenced for 16 years to jail for attempted rape, 4 counts of indecent assault, and one of having sex with a girl under the age of 13. And finally, the conclusion of the Sharon Matthews saga drew a large number of readers, with her mother, Karen, being found guilty of kidnapping. Karen Matthews was accused of kidnapping her daughter on December 4th. Both Karen Matthews and Michelle Donovan were found guilty of kidnapping, false imprisonment and perverting the course of justice, and were both given an 8-year prison sentence. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you for that, Keely. But now I would like to introduce a man who has been very familiar to our TV screens for many years, an Australian actor that started off in shows such as Home and Away and The Raw. Through the years, he's played some of our favourite and beloved characters such as Ennis Del Mar in Brokeback Mountain, Patrick Verona in 10 Things I Hate About You, and the Joker in Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. He's been nominated for countless awards and won many of within his career, which will be discussed with him later on the show. Only 28 years old, Heath Ledger is joining us on stage. But first, let's have a little look at some of his best work throughout the years.
Elaine?
I'm Mr. Fisher.
Guilty conscience, eh? Suck in, Sal.
Why don't you just leave me alone?
Sal, come on, we're best friends, remember? Can't get much closer than this.
You just get lost.
I got the van again tonight, what do you think?
You're unbelievable.
Thanks. Wow.
You too. Where'd you get a tux at the last minute?
Oh, just something I had, you know, lying around. Where'd you get the dress?
Oh, just something I had, you know, lying around.
Well, I guess I'll see you around, huh?
Do you want to know why I use a knife? Guns are too quick. You can't savor all the little emotions. You see, in their last moments, people show you who they really are. So, in a way, I knew your friends better than you ever did. Would you like to know which of them were cowards?
What's that? He's got some kind of a contusion.
I know you're gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have to try and enjoy it even more.
Incredible. And now we'd like to meet the man behind the screen. Let me introduce Heath Ledger. Hello.
Hey.
How's it going? So, yeah, in this VT we saw that some of the roles you played, one of the most well-known roles was the Joker. So how was that?
It was a very intense process. It all started with that I didn't want to copy, because obviously Jack Nicholson was the Joker before me, and I couldn't just rip him off. I wanted to make something that was similar, yet not copying. I didn't want to plagiarize his brilliant performance. So I decided to do what anyone would do in my situation, which was lock myself in a room for 6 weeks and write in the Joker's diary. And I just fueled myself with ideas. So I took a lot of inspiration from The Clockwork Orange and just spent 6 weeks talking to myself, figuring out how he walks, how he talks, how he laughs. And I think it gives you a really unique performance.
You've played other like amazing roles such as Patrick Verona from 10 Things I Hate About You and Ennis Del Mar in Brokeback Mountain. So what was it like to play these roles, and what was it like to be remembered for these roles?
It was pretty otherworldly. It's just mental to be remembered for roles. Like, it's just a dream come true.
And what about Patrick Verona from 10 Things I Hate About You? That was one of the roles that made you a teenage heartthrob. So what does it feel like to be one of those? Is it uncomfortable, or are you flattered?
Well, I don't feel like a teenage heartthrob, but it's a title that I've got. It's just really interesting. I love getting feedback like that from films. It's great playing such a outward, enthusiastic character.
So in your earlier days, you played a gay character in the show Sweat called Snowy. Did this help you in any way to prepare for Brokeback Mountain, which is obviously about gay people?
Well, not really. Although they're both gay, they're just very different characters. Like, nothing could have prepared me for the lips of Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, so I'd say they were both very unique experiences in acting. And although they have that one similarity, it doesn't really help with one another.
And you, on Brokeback Mountain, you also met Michelle Williams. How did that happen? How did that go?
Yeah, that's an interesting story, meeting my current wife on the same set of me making out with a man. Yeah, it was a love at first kiss, but the kiss was obviously with a different person who was a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun story. But yeah, everything just took off from there.
And are you comfortable playing gay characters? Obviously, you've done it twice now, so are you used to it now, or did it take a lot of getting used to, or was it just exactly the same as any other role?
I'd say it's not the easiest thing to get used to. But yeah, it definitely tests your acting skills and broadens your field of acting.
So your daughter Matilda Rose was born. How does it feel like to be a father?
Oh, it's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. She's definitely 100% my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I'm loving it.
Did you always want children? Were you always a family man, or would you have preferred? Did you always put your career first?
I'd say I've always been a family man. I just love, obviously, a lot of time and effort's gone into my career, but I definitely, love taking a step back every now and then and putting some time into being with my family.
And how was it like preparing to be a father? Did you feel prepared for it, or did you feel almost thrown in? Because I know a lot of parents do feel unprepared and nervous about fatherhood.
I'd say there's only so much you can really prepare for it. Obviously, it's just a shock the moment you find out, and then the moment the child's born. It's just the greatest feeling in the world.
So you started your career by performing various different roles on Australian television and film productions. One of these roles was a small role on Clowning Around, but you moved to Perth for this specific role. What was that like? Was it the right choice, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say it was definitely worth it, just getting my foot in the door with that opportunity. Obviously, it's very different moving to a completely different place like Perth, but with an opportunity like that, you just have to grasp it. You can't let something slip by just because of where you are.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Heath. We're now going to go to a quick ad break, but we'll see you after this.
He needs some milk.
Hello, welcome back to the show. We're going to be asking more questions with our guest, Heath Ledger. So, you've said in previous interviews that you're not very ambitious. So, what do you mean by that?
I'd say I'm determined, to definitely get where I want to go. I want to be director, actor, things like that. But I guess when it comes to spending money, I'm a lot less ambitious than other people. I'm not going to go out and buy, a mansion or a skyscraper or a flying car. I'm just quite happy with a nice small house, just being with my family.
Have you always been like this from a child? Have you always appreciated a family setting?
Yeah, definitely.
To do that?
I was never very materialistic as a child. I'm just a fan of experiences rather than possessions.
And speaking of when you were a child, what was it like growing up in the spotlight? Was it difficult, or did you find ways to deal with it?
I'd say, I dealt with it pretty well. Especially in this industry, you obviously need to find ways to deal with it yourself, but I wasn't too young going into it, so I think I was at an age where I could cope with it a lot better. And yeah, I'd say things worked out pretty well from there, and I'm definitely glad I got in it at the age that I did.
So you don't regret going into acting at such a young age then? Did that never have any problems with that?
No, I think I came out of it all right. I've made it this far. I'd say obviously there were some times that it'd be nice to sort of take it. It's tough being in the spotlight, especially at a young age. Obviously it's quite nice being a child, but when you're a teenager and you make rash decisions and you make stupid mistakes, when you are in the spotlight, those mistakes and stupid decisions get noticed by more people.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the downside to being famous at a young age.
Speaking of other things you did when you were a young age, you were an avid chess player when you were younger, so do you still play chess?
Yeah, anytime I can, I'll play chess. If anyone's willing to play with me, I'll definitely grasp the opportunity. I try and convince my colleagues to play a game of chess with me in between takes and stuff, just to pass the time. I absolutely love it. I won a chess championship at age 10, and it's carried on from there. Every time I keep meeting new chess enthusiasts and just go head to head in a fight to the death.
Do you ever play with your child, or do you let them win?
I'm
play?
Teaching.
Okay.
They're in training.
Okay.
A lot of montages.
So you also love directing. So you've done a couple of directing jobs in your career. How's that been?
Yeah, I've directed a few music videos, just little things here and there. In fact, I was even giving Christopher Nolan gave me a few opportunities during The Dark Knight to direct my own scenes. The first one, he was like there watching, and then after that, he just trusted me to do it without him, which is pretty impressive. Well, I'm proud of it, especially because Christopher Nolan is known for not liking other people directing alongside him. Obviously, plenty of other directors have co-directors and assistant directors, whereas he's pretty solo and it's his vision. So I was very proud of that.
So it's quite an honour to direct with such a director that doesn't really like
and see it in the film, I'm like, hey, I did that.
So do you enjoy directing more than you do acting, or is it just a bit of a hobby on the side?
I'd say I love them both equally. Obviously, my original passion was directing, and acting was just a way of getting my foot in the door in that sense.
Yeah.
But they're just so different, behind the camera and in front of the camera, that few meters, it makes an insane difference. So they're just such different experiences that it's hard to compare them. I love them both.
Speaking of your passions, you also love photography. So what about photography is it that you like?
Oh, just the freedom. It's starting off with a blank sheet of film and just being able to capture anything you want. It's what really got me interested in film and directing, was just the control, being able to go from nothing to something, and it's completely up to you what that something is.
Yeah, so you also let one of your friends do a painting of you, which became quite popular and significant. So can you explain what that was like? What was it like to be painted? I can imagine it'd be quite embarrassing.
Oh no, it's beautiful. It is an amazing painting. I was sort of forced into it. Yeah, it wasn't my decision. I didn't go up to my mate and go, "Hey, Jeffrey, please paint me." It's more of a, "Hey, can I paint you?" And I'm like, "It's a Sunday, I've got nothing better to do." So I just sat there for a good 6-8 hours, and it was just beautiful. I originally wanted to keep it, but in the end it was sold, and so now there's a rich millionaire somewhere with me on his wall, and that is a thought that I get to carry with me.
Well, thank you for that, Heath. I think we're now going to go to a documentary, so we'll see you after this.
We're gonna go on a mission right now. So will you come with me? Oh, you will.
As most of you probably know by now, and some of you may not know, Heath Ledger was found dead a few hours ago, yesterday, as you're seeing this, yesterday. Heath Ledger was an amazing, amazing, talented young man, 28 years old. He was a friend, and we will miss him.
You worked with Heath Ledger, was that good?
It was great. It was great. I'm not being hyperbolic at all by saying this, but he's the best actor I ever worked with.
Seriously?
Seriously.
And the AFI award goes to Heath Ledger for Brokeback Mountain.
You know, growing up through your development kind of years, like in front of the spotlight, so to speak, like, you know, when you're in your late teens, early 20s, I think you could relate to this too. We're very impulsive. It's been really overwhelming. I mean, it's obviously an honor to have my movies here, and one movie, let alone having to bear the responsibility of representing 3 movies.
I have made a conscious effort to kind of slow down my career in a way. I mean, I had an opportunity to take other paths, but and once you're on top, there's only one place to go. So I don't really want to be there, and I don't know, I'm not that ambitious. I don't really want to go out and buy skyscrapers, so I'm not, you know, looking for that kind of career.
I take great pride in my soul and the consistency and longevity of my love.
My life changed certainly from meeting Michelle. I have a family, a beautiful family, and 2 beautiful girls, thanks to Brokeback Mountain. So it's extraordinary the level in which my life has changed.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you.
That was great to watch, but unfortunately we have to come to the end of our show. Thank you to Heath Ledger for coming on and letting us interview you. Thank you for Keely with the news, and thank you to the Escapade for performing with us. I hope you all have a lovely day and a fantastic Christmas, and to play us out, the Escapades. Thank you for watching Time Tunnel TV.
Hi, I'd say we're the Escapade, but the rest of the band ditched me, so. This is Stop Crying Your Heart Out. Hold on, hold on. Why you scared? Your destiny may keep you warm. May your smile
shine on. Why you scared? You'll never change what's been undone, 'cause all of the stars have faded away. Just try not to worry, you'll see them someday. Take what you need and be on your way, and stop crying your heart out. Get on, come on. Why you scared?
Hello, I'm your host, The Henry Home, and today we have not one, but two amazing performances by our own local band, The Escapade. As always, we have our lovely news presenter, Charlotte, who will give you the news that you've missed. And we will be meeting one man with many talents, who has been on our screens for many years now, the amazing Johnny Depp. But first off, it's time to introduce The Escapade.
This is I Bet That You Look Good on the Dance Floor.
Making
Thank you, that was an amazing performance. But before we meet the man you all love, we now have the news from Charlotte. Take it away, Charlotte.
Thanks, Henry. In the news today, after 27 years of imprisonment, Nelson Mandela is released with crowds of people gazing upon the historical figure. The Berlin Wall is being teared down after 25 years, and we get the first photograph from the Hubble Space Telescope. However, sadly, a 7.7 earthquake hits Manjil Rudbar with over 50,000 dead. Our thoughts are with them and their families. A new Tim Burton movie will be hitting the big screen. Mr Mandela appeared at the gates of Victor Verster prison in Paarl at 4:14 local time, an hour late, with his wife Winnie. People danced in the streets across the country and thousands clamoured to see him at a rally in Cape Town. Mr Mandela, the Deputy President of the ANC, appeared on the balcony of Cape Town City Hall to speak to the 50,000 people assembled outside at 8 o'clock local time. In his speech he quoted, "Our struggle has reached a decisive moment. Our march to freedom is irreversible." On August 13, 1961, the communist government of German Democratic Republic began to build a barbed wire and concrete wall between East and West Berlin. However, this year, as the Cold War began to thaw across Eastern Europe, the spokesman of East Berlin's Communist Party announced a change in his city's relations with the West. Starting at midnight that day, he said, citizens of the GDR were free to cross the country's borders. East and West Berliners flocked to the wall, drinking beer and champagne and chanting, "Open the gate." At midnight, they flooded through the checkpoints. Over 2 million volunteers helped pick through the wall. The subject of this first ever cosmic screen grab was the binary star HD 96755 in the open cluster NGC 3532, about 1,300 light years away. NASA released a picture along with a second one taken of the same objects by the ground-based telescope in Chile's Atacama Desert to the show that the Hubble could do a better job, which it did a little. And now to Kyle. Oh, I can't, there's nothing on the screen. What am I doing? The 9900 Manjil Rudbar earthquake occurred on June 21st in northern Iran. The shock had a moment magnitude of 7.4 and a Merkel intensity of X extreme. Widespread damage occurred to the northwest of the capital city of Tehran, including the cities of Rudbar and Manjil. The National Geophysical Data Center estimated that $8 billion in damage occurred in the affected area. Other earthquake catalogues presented estimates of the loss of life in the range of 35,000 to 50,000, with a further 60,000 to 105,000 that were injured. Our time traveller Kyle has gone back to the year 1991 to view the spectacular event of the release of Edward Scissorhands. To what? Thanks, Frank. I'm currently in the year of 1991, outside the red carpet for Edward Scissorhands. Already seeing the crowds which flood the streets, I can tell it's going to be a big hit. Through the release of the trailer, we see the magic that Tim Burton will once again bring to the big screen. Watching the trailer, we also get to see a sneak peek at the great actor Johnny Depp, who will be playing the lead role of Edward Scissorhands. The fantasy drama is about a man created by an inventor who died before he could finish making his hands. Instead, he is left with scissors, hence the name Edward Scissorhands. We also get to see love take over his life when a girl named Peg finds him. Back to you in the studio, Frank.
For that, Kyle. Oh wait, that's not me.
Thanks for that, Kyle. I'm sure this movie will be a big hit. Anyways, we'll be back to you.
This is an appeal I simply wish I'd not have to make. In this day and age, how is it possible that 5,000 socks will be destroyed in the next 10 seconds from neglect? This poor sock has been thrown out by its owners. Unfortunately, it has to survive in the cold, bleak alleyways of places like Salford and Hackney. You can help save socks by learning how to wash socks properly. You can save the socks life. To do this, go to ao.com/saveoursocks. By visiting Save Our Socks, you'll possess the expertise to clean old, unwanted socks to ensure your socks will not be deserted. Just go to ao.com. In the next minute, tens of thousands of socks will be left on the streets, ruined and left to decay. So please don't wait to save a sock's life. Please go to AO.com/save our socks to stop this epidemic. Thank you.
Okay guys, apologies for some technical difficulties there, but we'll get right into the show. So, welcome back to Time Tunnel TV. We are currently discussing some great historical news events, but I think now is the time where we get to meet the man we all love and know. But first, we're going to let you watch a short documentary in dedication to the man himself, Johnny Depp.
The one and only, and one of my personal favorites, Johnny Depp.
that none of us, especially me, wouldn't be standing up here if it weren't for you tonight. So thank you, and give them hell, Betty Sue.
All right. So I think it's that time, guys. We're now going to interview the one and only Johnny Depp, who's here with us today.
Right.
So I think we're going to start off with some nice, easy questions. So what everyone's talking about it. Your fashion sense. What entices you to dress the way you do?
Well, I like looking different from everybody. Like working a lot with Marilyn Manson helped me a ton. He's so unique and influential. Like Nick Cage also inspired me growing up because as an actor, and he dresses really weirdly. Being an actor means you can dress you can easily become different people in a way. So you get to look different in ways that you wouldn't normally do. So on an everyday basis, I'm wearing things like this, but on set, I could be dressed in pirate gear, and you don't see anyone dressed in their pirate gear, do you? So, but just like Pirates of the Caribbean, now I quite like wearing some longer things, and I like to wear a bandana now and again. I think my films have really changed how I dress. Yeah.
So what would you say inspired you to be an actor?
Well, I get asked this question all the time. Well, when I was younger, I dropped out of high school because I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a lead guitarist, but like about 2 weeks later, I went to the principal and joined back. But he declined my offer and just said, "You follow your dreams." So then I met Nicolas Cage actually, and he inspired me to try acting.
So your book, House on Earth, which you co-wrote, did you find this interesting to work on the more pre-production side of things, or did you like the more laid-back approach?
Well, like, so working on films all the time, I'm without the house and doing away from my family and friends for a really long time, so it's really taxing, so being able to like just work on a project from the comfort of my own home, it was a nice change, but like I really don't think that acting can ever be topped by any other pursuit, really. That's just what I love doing, but I may consider writing another book in future. It was just as another change, but yeah, it's good.
So, obviously you've played a lot of roles over the years. When you get asked to play a role, what really gets you, what makes you want to be that person? Is it the character itself, or is it the paycheck that comes along with it?
Well, personally, I'd rather do a more interesting role, like the quirky characters I've played, like Edward Scissorhands and Jack Sparrow is a rather weird one that everybody loves. Like when I got offered to play an uncle in a TV show a few years back, I just turned it down because it was an incredibly boring night. It's just because I've gotten so far in my acting career, I don't believe money is really isn't a motivator anymore. I just want to try out new things, play different characters, see the world from different perspectives of different directors. So yeah, it's always about the character, the money.
So obviously one of your more famous characters, Edward Scissorhands. What was it like playing that role, and what sort of impact did that have on your career?
Well, like as I said earlier, it's an interesting character, and it was allowed me to be way more creative in terms of like acting style. Like it's very difficult to method act playing a man that lives by himself with scissors for hands. It's really hard. So it was a different process almost of getting into character. So yeah, it's really different from the previous characters that I played.
So, whilst playing your role in any movie, do you have to completely change your persona, or do you just, as soon as you're on stage, do you just change, or?
Well, for any role really, it's whoever you're playing. There's always part of yourself that's in that character, because it's your adaptation of someone else's imagination. So, acting is just you like taking their ideas and making it part of yourself for that period of time. It's acting. You're not lying about who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So through the years of acting, have you settled into role types such as Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, and of course Willy Wonka, being the most abstract characters? How would you prepare for these roles?
Well, in my opinion, I'm not the most serious actors from my first role being in a Tim Burton film, creating these iconic fantasy characters. I feel like that's kind of set into me, because I'm not exactly a serious actor. You won't catch me on anything like Downton Abbey or anything. But it's just you just have to take some time out and let go of obviously who you are day to day, and really absorb yourself into these characters, and then you do find from time to time that the characters that you're playing morph into your kind of daily existence. So my children might find me almost quoting Jack Sparrow on a daily basis, just get caught something doing no, bugger. It was like just things like that. It does morph into your daily life. So settling, that's part of my process.
Obviously, over the years, you've gained a lot of attention. Is it hard does it have a hard impact on your everyday life, living in the spotlight in the way you do?
Well, you can't really go out as much anymore. You can't, and you're always in the limelight, the public. You're in the public spotlight for everything. So, I've got people queuing up outside my house for autographs and things. It's really nice to see the fans are still there, but it can be a bit draining at times.
How do you feel when people refer to you as being the most diverse actor of all time?
Well, obviously it's an honour for me, and I've worked hard for this title that everyone gives me, but in my opinion there are far more respectable actors who deserve this title for their work, and but sadly they don't get noticed. But yeah, I'm very thankful. Like I have massive respect for, well, Nick Cage obviously is he inspired me growing up, and I don't think he gets enough respect as an actor. People think he's wacky and weird, and he's regarded as one of the worst actors of all time. He's branded in with Adam Sandler and the like. And
ooh, yeah.
I'm not throwing any shade there, Adam. Don't take it personally. But I don't think that he should be lumped in with those the like. But yeah, I think Nick Cage deserves more respect.
So you obviously worked in a lot of Tim Burton films over the years. For anyone who hasn't seen most of them, could you list them off?
Of course, we've got Edward Scissorhands. We've got Sleepy Hollow and Corpse Bride and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm playing obviously Willy Wonka. Then in 2005, Sweeney Todd, Alice in Wonderland, and then Dark Shadows and Alice Through the Looking Glass. Yeah, working with Tim Burton is incredible, and I'm happy that he keeps asking me back to play roles.
So, you've had two children, Lily Rose and John, with the French singer-songwriter Vanessa Paradis. With having kids, does being such a big actor impact them? Does it affect them in school or anything?
It's hard for me to deal with the fact that the answer to this question is, of course, like, yes, of course it affects them, it affects me. But for many years I've been acting too little to no breaks, and it's the odd advert that I've got to fly out for the weekend. It's definitely made me appreciate them a lot more. Like, it's just the things like school plays and which get them to see like their mum in the crowd, and every other child has both parents watching them, and when I can't be there it's quite sad. But Lily has become recently quite very, very famous on social media. She's doing very well for herself. Her and her boyfriend are very happy. She's going a very different direction to the one I've gone in. She likes the more of a hippie lifestyle. Yeah, I know Lily's having well, but John is. I think John isn't too happy that I'm away all the time.
So obviously, on a more controversial note, what do you have to say about the allegations against your wife?
The media keeps saying that I'm an abusive husband, and that it's motivated by drugs or alcohol addiction, and so these statements it's not true. It's none of it. It's I think I've been seen on holiday with a bottle in my hand, but who doesn't drink on holiday? Like,
yeah, of course.
It's I don't know. I think there was one moment where my wife walked into one of our French doors, and immediately the media said that I was some sort of wife beater. It's not.
Would you say social media itself then had a big impact on how far this went?
Definitely, yeah. If it wasn't for the if it wasn't for the media and all the media outlets having social media accounts and everything's really shareable these days. So as soon as you see a catchy headline or something, it just goes viral very, very quickly, and everything gets blown out of proportion. Everyone has their own opinions. So
yeah, okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. On a lighter note, so let's talk about the Oscars.
Oh, the Oscars.
So to this day, you've still not won an Oscar. Tell us, how does that make you feel?
Well, being one of the most high-paid actors ever and still not winning an Oscar, I was in the same boat as Leo until not too long ago. Being paid that much doesn't like I've never won one, but it doesn't make me sad to have never won one, because I just like carrying on my acting career. I've won plenty of other awards, and I feel like my work speaks for itself. I don't need a golden man on my mantelpiece to say that I'm a good actor. I work with Tim Burton all the time, and I'm alright.
Oh, right, amazing. So that's all we have time for today, guys. I'm very sorry. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, it's alright, it's okay.
Now we have our last performance by Joe Gorman of The Escapade. Take it away, Joe.
This is Supersonic.
You need to be yourself. You can't be no one else. I'm feeling supersonic. Give me gin and tonic. You can have it all, but how much do you want it? You made me laugh. Give me your autograph. Can I ride with you in your BMW? You can sail with me in my yellow submarine. You need to find out, 'cause no one's gonna tell you what I'm on about. You need to find a way for what you wanna say. But before tomorrow, 'cause my friend said he'd take you home. He sits in a corner all alone. He lives under a waterfall. Nobody can see him, nobody can ever hear him call. Nobody can ever hear him call. You need to be yourself. You can't be no one else. I know what you're called, Elsa. She's into Roger Seltzer. She's lived it through a cane on a supersonic train, and she makes me laugh. So I got her autograph. She done it with the doctor on a helicopter. She sniffs it in a tissue, telling the big issue, and she finds out, 'cause no one's gonna tell her what I'm on about. She needs to find a way for what she wants to say. But before tomorrow, 'cause my friend said he'd take you home. He sits in a corner all alone. He lives under a waterfall. Nobody can see him, Nobody can ever hear him talk. Nobody can ever hear him talk.
And you.
Oh, thank you very much for that escapade. Alright, so thank you to all the camera operators. Thank you, Johnny Depp, for being on the show. Thank you to our floor manager, Nye. Thank you to our director, Kyle. Thank you for our PA, whoever they are. Thank you to Abby for working the jib. Thank you to everyone at Time Tunnel TV.
Hello, I'm James Harvey and this is Time Tunnel TV. Today we have two thrilling singing performances by Donya, the news from 1973, and an interview with the director of Bruce Lee's final film, Enter the Dragon. To start with, we're going through a performance by Donya singing Yours by Ella Henderson.
Winter coat, the one he loves to wear, so I'll keep feeling close to what's beyond compare. The moment waking up, you catch me in your eyes, the beauty on my pillow that holds me through the night, and I will play my strength to untame my mouth when I used to be afraid of the words. But with you I'll learn just to let it out. Now my heart is ready to burst, 'cause you feel like I'm ready for love, and I wanna be everything and more. And I know every day you say it, but I just want you to be sure that I am yours. And if I'm feeling heavy, you take me from the dark. Your arms, they keep me steady, so nothing could fall apart. And I will fly in my strength to unzip my mouth when I used to
That was a truly brilliant performance from Donya. Now we're going to go to watch a brief documentary on Bruce Lee.
Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Born in Florida, raised in Hong Kong and worked in LA, Bruce Lee has had his fair share of moving from country to country. Bruce started his career as a child actor, appearing in over 20 films throughout his childhood years. At 13 years old, Bruce began to undertake martial arts classes, studying Wing Chun under renowned master Yip Man. At the age of 18, Bruce left the cultural Hong Kong for the modern United States in Seattle. This is where he started his life in the US, working for a family friend. Kung Fu became his job soon later after opening his first school, the Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute. Later, he opened 2 more schools in Oakland and Los Angeles. Bruce then married his wife Linda and made a family with her. During the 1960s, Bruce was discovered while doing an exhibition and a TV series, The Green Hornet. Bruce then starred in many films and eventually made the first Hong Kong Hollywood production with his film, Enter the Dragon.
You want to fight? I'll take you on.
Enter the Dragon was the last film that Bruce made before passing away in 1973, even before the film was released. This is the film that made him a household name and helped to create his legacy.
Now we know more about Bruce, we're going to have an interview with the man who directed his most recent and final film, Robert Klaus. Come on, Rob.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to have you on. Well, Enter the Dragon. So, like, how was it making that film?
Yeah, it was good, but obviously we had a few ups and downs, like every movie does. Like, it was great working with everyone, really. So.
Of course, it could have gone. It could have gone much worse than it did. Well, that's expected though, and anything, isn't it? So, of course, I have to ask, Bruce Lee. What is he like in general? What is he like as a person?
Oh, like Bruce is really good. Like he does all his own stunts, and he's like he's a good actor in general, obviously, because he knows everything, like what he does, and he does his own stunts, and it's just he does his own stunts, and yes, we don't have to worry about getting like a double for him and everything, so it's really good.
That's very rare in Hollywood. We've got there's not many actors that do their own stunts anymore. Tom Cruise was the only other one who just does his own stunts. Have you seen Mission Impossible, the latest one? Yeah, he does all his own stunts. But I think they're the last two greats in the industry. But were you worried about anything happening to him throughout the production?
I mean, yeah, I did have doubts. Obviously, it's quite a taxing job to do your own stunts. Like, he's such an amazing actor, and if we something bad happened to him, if he did, because doing stunts is quite taxing. So like, if you did a stunt and it went wrong, you could lose your actor. So
yeah, true. I mean, I suppose you can't. You've got him as an actor. You can't really stop him once he's decided to do his own stunts. It's saving you money for one, but you can't stop him when he's got like his heart set on a goal. You can't really stop him, can you?
He really does. Yeah. So he normally sets his goals higher than he needs to be. So like, he always wants to like be better and thrive more. He's just one of them actors who really like he he likes his pride more than his paycheck. Really.
Yeah, I mean that's a great mindset to have. It really is.
Indeed, it
in
is,
our interview with Johnny Depp earlier on, we had. He's of a similar mindset. It's about the character that he plays, and not just the paycheck, which is.
Right, okay.
But I want to talk about Enter the Dragon for a minute. Like, how do you think it turned out for you as a director and for the cast and crew who worked on it?
Personally, I think it went great. Obviously, it's the first real Hollywood and Hong Kong combined production.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's going to help, like, build a bridge between the two, between like Hong Kong and like Hollywood, which is great as well.
Yeah, because they Hong Kong. Am I right in saying that the Hong Kong is almost the heart of Eastern cinema?
Yeah.
So yeah, because if you're marrying up the West, like the Western world being Hollywood and Hong Kong, we can produce some truly brilliant films and not just another King Kong movie. So, but do you think this is a big stepping stone for the world?
I do. Yeah, I believe that this is going to be like, I suppose it's going to give us like an extra like genre, I suppose you can call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we've got time for right now. Oh. But fucking hell. Well, we'll talk about Bruce.
Okay. Yeah.
So, what is he like, just as a person? Does he? How does he work with cast and crew?
Really humble.
Yeah.
If let's say so if he's not in a scene, Bruce, he knows his way around cameras as well, so he'll help out behind the scenes as well as much as he would on set. So yeah.
Well, I've from his more famous films like the original Karate Kid. Apparently he would make food for people on set, and that has he ever demonstrated where he can catch a fly with chopsticks? Was that ever something he demonstrated?
That was a party trick, yeah. We did have a couple of pies as well, but he used to bring food in.
Yeah.
And yes, he used to bring a lot of food in, and he used to make it on set as well. So he did have the food section, and he'd have his own little section for us. And yes, he'd treat us all to his home cooked meals, basically.
Yeah, I mean on Enter the Dragon, I know there's a lot of choreographed fight scenes, but Did Bruce have any? Did he partake in like any of the choreography?
The choreography. So you're asking if he?
Yeah. Did he teach some martial arts in order to?
Yeah, there was a lot of actors who knew martial arts, but then when you had Bruce come on, they looked like didn't know anything. So he did like have somewhat of a training class each session after filming or before. Yeah. He'd teach them a couple moves and like. He'd go through like a couple scenarios.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd make the choreography look much smoother if you had the world-renowned, possibly the greatest fighter to have ever lived. Well, in Hollywood at least. But so I'm guessing he lives up to the expectation he's been given.
He does, yeah.
But in interviews, he tends to speak with like a bit of a riddled tone, which is a weird thing to do. I've not interviewed him personally, but I know some other people in the industry. Was he like that on set? Did he talk in almost hidden meanings?
As I was saying before, he's very wise as well, so he kind of tries to teach us certain things through his vocabulary, as you were saying before. And so yeah, he does quite a lot. He's very.
It's
intriguing, really.
It's a rather odd thing. Now his, what do you think of like Hollywood? Hollywood at the moment, it seems to have a problem with almost whitewashing. Almost, it's a sensitive topic, but they seem to be whitewashing roles that are they're supposed to be for people of different ethnic backgrounds. So there's a new film in Ghost where. They take a white woman in place of an Asian woman. What do you think about
that? I'd say if the actress or actor like suits the role, it's just completely up to that. I mean, I don't think whitewashing is a big deal, but if they suit the role, then it's just you got to take them on you.
Yeah. Well, that's all we've got time for now. But we're going to go to a quick ad break, and we'll be back with Bruce, and we're going to play a quick game with him. And now we're back after the ad break. And now, Bruce, we've got, well, because Bruce speaks in riddles sometimes, we've looked up some riddles, and we're going to see if, because you've been working with him for so long, see if you can decipher any of these riddles. Okay, so we've got the first one. I'll start easy. So there's a mansion on fire, and there are 3 rooms. One has money in, one with expensive goods, and one with gold and rare jewels. Which room do the policemen put out first?
The bedroom.
Do you want another guess?
I'd love another guess. Yeah.
So you've got mansion on fire, 3 rooms, money, expensive goods, gold and rare jewels. Which one do the policemen put out first?
Put out, right, I say
as in
red jewels then.
Well, none, because they're policemen, not firemen.
See, yeah. Damn.
Well, this next one's just a bit weird. So,
alright,
you're trapped in a room.
Okay.
With no windows and no doors.
No drawers.
No doors. No doors. So you're in a basically just a imagine you're in a boat. You're in a small room. And there's nothing in. There's no other way out.
Okay.
So, and all you have on you is an orange, the fruit, and a knife. How do you escape?
You can't escape. There's no doors or windows.
Honestly, this one took me a really long time as well.
I mean, what's the room made out of?
It's just a brick room. It's just a brick room.
It's a brick room with a knife and an orange.
British, standard British house, brick room.
Standard British house.
Well,
you try and chisel your way through with a knife and an orange.
If you take the knife and cut the orange in half, then you have 2 halves that make a hole. Through the hole, you can escape. Our research team really needs to get some new riddles. I'm not sure these are the same riddles that Bruce speaks in.
No.
I don't have any more riddles. Then, moving on from the riddles, because our research team really needs to step up their game.
Okay.
But what's it, in your opinion, what's it like being a director?
Being a director is really fun. Like, obviously you get to direct the whole team. It's taxing as well, because I do have a wife and kids, and my wife, like, she has to raise my kids, like, when I'm not there for weeks on end, even months. But yeah, overall it's a really fun job, and you get to, like, meet tons of new people, like Bruce, I would say.
I mean, because Enter the Dragon is set in Hong Kong, and you're American, so do you ever get to take your kids on? Do you get to take your kids on set with you? Like, can you take them around the world, or do they have to stay in school or anything?
You said it there. School. They do have to stay in school, obviously, but there's obviously times where if it's like a weekend away, or like obviously Hong Kong is a complete, like, they can't come to Hong Kong unless they're on like a summer break or stuff like that. But there's been other sets where we've gone to as a family, and they've watched me do my work, and they've got involved, and it's.
Back to Bruce again, because this is really the thing the audience doesn't hear about. Is has he ever been hurt, like, on set while he's been doing these stunts?
Bruce has been hurt quite a bit.
I'm assuming you've got paramedics on scene all the time.
We do. We obviously, on location, we need a hospital nearby.
Yeah.
We can't get anywhere too out in the open, because doing your own stunts, as I said before, it's really taxing. If you slip or do something wrong, you can seriously injure yourself. So yeah, we do have ambulance somewhat close by anyway.
Yeah. My question is, what is the insurance like? Because Bruce Lee is a very expensive man. If you're having to pay for his health insurance while on set, how much is that coming to?
That again is very taxing. Like, that's very expensive. So yeah, we put quite a bit of money into that as well. So
yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's worth it. Very worth it.
Yeah, true. He's an amazing actor. And this is especially because Enter the Dragon is his final film. How does it feel to have the privilege of working with Bruce on just his final film?
Yeah, it's a privilege. Like, it's a grand honor to have Bruce Lee work on his last film, with me being the director. It's just an amazing experience as well, and to meet him is again amazing. It's just real honor. Yeah.
Well, I feel going back to your kids, if are you hoping that they go into the same, if they have the same aspirations as you, they also want to go into Hollywood?
I'm not going to force it on them, but if they want the opportunity, it's there. Like, they've got, not bigging myself up, but they've got a director who's directing with Bruce Lee, and they can easily just jump on board and watch and stuff like that. But yeah, they can definitely like come and be a director if they wanted to be. Yeah.
Well, like, what is your favourite film?
Favourite film?
Yeah, your personal favourite film.
Personally, I really like Western movies, but say favourite film, I'd probably say Batman Arkham Knight.
So, if you do you think that like that has an effect on the way you direct? Is it like that you want to direct in a very similar way?
It definitely like helps out. If you watch movies, you're gonna take stuff from them, like they're gonna take them and you're gonna like implement them into your own. But I wouldn't say it pushes me to do stuff exactly like that, because I do have my own creative like output, and cinematographer on scene will obviously like direct his way as well. So yeah, it definitely does help.
Yeah. Well, do you think that the way you direct, do you feel it affects how you raise your kids, because you're in an important role and you're controlling what's going on set, you're controlling the outcome. Do you feel like that's any different? Do you feel that affects your personal life, how you raise your kids?
I suppose directing, you become this character when you're a director. You become like, you need to push the team forward, and you kind of need to get things done as quick as possible because you do have a deadline. But it's just doing this and like controlling a team of people, I suppose it does help. I'd say so, yeah. Let's just cut to it. Yeah, it does differ my parenting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Rob, thank you very much for coming on. That's all we have time for now. We're going to Sophie Howarth with the news from 1973.
Hello and welcome to Time Tunnel TV news segment. My name is Sophie Howarth and this is the news of this year. Britain, Ireland and Denmark have officially become the 7th, 8th and 9th members of the Common Market. US President Richard Nixon has refused Watergate tapes to be released of the conversations in the White House. Bruce Lee's new film Enter the Dragon has been released. And finally, John Lennon has released his latest album, Mind Games. Britain and Ireland and Denmark have all officially joined the European Economic Community. The Union Jack was raised at midnight last night, marking the occasion. Britain's European Commissioner was at the event, joining in the torch lighting procession. The United Kingdom has become a fully fledged member of the European Economic Community. Ireland and Denmark have also joined Britain in becoming the newest members of the community, bringing the total number of member states to 9. At midnight last night, a Union Jack flag was raised at the EEC's headquarters in Brussels to mark the occasion. Celebrations were held in the city. One of Europe's new European commissioners, George Tomlinson, joined revellers in the torchlit procession. Prime Minister Edward Heath is optimistic that Britain's membership of the community will bring prosperity to the country. More than 1,000 Britons will relocate to Brussels over the coming months to take up their places as civil servants of the community. On the afternoon of June 20th, 1972, an infamous gap appeared in Nixon's recordings. Dean believes it's a conversation between Nixon and his chief of staff, Bob Haldeman, but he states it's not as mysterious or important as people think. It's 3 days after DNC break-in, and Nixon spends the day talking to Haldeman and John Mitchell, the director of the committee to re-elect the president, a close friend of Nixon. Nixon tells Haldeman that he gives Mitchell a call in one evening conversation. It said that he, as quoted, cheered him up a bit. I told him not to worry, that we might be able to control this Watergate thing. Dean, in an interview with The Post, said that at this point, it's very much a cover-up talk. So what was said during the 18.5-minute gap? Dean said it wasn't Haldeman or Lichman sitting there saying, oh boy, did we mess up that job where we were trying to break into Watergate. Apparently people were fantasizing that they may be talking about it. Drawing context clues derived from conversations in the following days, Dean concludes the gap contained some general comment that reveals Nixon's involvement in the cover-up. Dean doesn't believe the 18.5-minute gap contains any piece of information that isn't repeated in the conversation. Dean explained that there is other talk that week that would have been equally as damaging. He ensured us that it's just those tapes that were subordinated. As anticipated, he has the news from Hong Kong where Bruce Lee's new film Enter the Dragon is being premiered later this evening. Enter the Dragon is one of the latest films made by Bruce Lee, has been helped to bring the Magnificent Man to fame. Now known as one of the greatest in his craft, Bruce uses this to help make the character more realistic to the martial art that's used in the film. It's going to be a good day here in Hong Kong with the film to be shown in the coming hours on the street report. Mind Games by John Lennon was recorded by July and August 1973 in Lennon's characteristic quick fashion and was mixed over a 2-week period. Following his previous 3-year partnership with Phil Spector. When the album was remixed in 2002, many audio abnormalities hidden in the original mix were uncovered. Some rough mixes appear in the bootlegs and on 1997's John Lennon Anthology. The album continued Lennon's previous attempts to chronicle his life through his songs, the tone of which displays a range of mixed emotions. Tony King, vice president of Apple Records in Los Angeles at the time, convinced Lennon to promote the Mind Games, arranging interviews with Lennon from the Billboard and Record World. He also persuades Lennon to do a television commercial in which King dressed up as the Queen of England and waltzed with Lennon. The commercial session can be seen in the 1988 film Imagine John Lennon. King reprised his role as Queen for 2 radio spots promoting the album. Lennon created the Mind Games album cover himself. Hand-cutting the photos, the front and back covers are similar. On the back sleeve, Lennon is more toward the foreground, representing his symbolic walking away from Ono and her apparent mountainous influence on him. Mind Games was released on the 29th of October in America and 16th November in Britain, around the same time of Ono's Feeling the Space. Apple Records issued the title track as a single, with the release dates matching those of the album in the US and UK. The album charted at number 13 in the UK and peaked at number 9 on the Billboard's top LPs list. Although Mind Games sold better than Summertime in the New York City, it released came and went with a barely a ripple, according to Beatles biographer Chris Ingham.
Thanks for the news. And that's it from me and Times on TV. And now I'm going to hand you over to Donia singing her cover of Valerie by Amy Winehouse.
Sometimes I go out by myself and across the water. Think of things to do in my head in a picture. I'm coming home when my body's best. It's your hair, the way to dress. Come on over. I'll make it happy. Why don't you come over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, did you have to go to house upon the lawyer? Hope you did catch it. Hope you found the real and no fake. Oh yeah. In shop, you wet. Did you come over your head? You have right. You look dark all the time. You still say. I'm coming home when my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over, stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Out by myself and I look across the water and I think of all the things what you're doing in my head, and I paint a picture. Since I'm coming home when my body's been a mess and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, Valerie. Why don't you come on over, Valerie?
Well done.
Woo! Thank you.
That was horrible.
Thanks.
As long as you like it.
The mic was cutting out.
It kept cooking out. I need
No way.
I'll whisper in your ear depression. And he did move and I was like, okay, so that's you and you kind of just went. And I was like, fair enough. The mic wasn't working. You did, but it wasn't working fully. It was like cutting in and out.